June 1st is the beginning of the rainy season in Florida, and it's also the official beginning of hurricane season. In June, the climate starts to feel more tropical. The hot and humid environment is ideal for fungus and diseases to proliferate. The insect population explodes, and the weeds flourish, and most of the plants that were thriving in our spring gardens start to rapidly decline due to the constant high heat and humidity. Tropical plants and very heat-tolerant plants are the only ones that thrive in our summer environment. The list for what we can plant in June is very similar to the list for May. Traditional warm season crops we can plant in June include okra and southern peas, like Crowder peas, cream peas, and cowpeas. Black-eyed peas are a very common type of cowpea that can be grown during the summer. Tropical crops we can plant in June include amaranth, arrowroot, calabaza, chaya, chayote, cranberry hibiscus, gingers and turmeric, katuk, long beans, loofah, malanga, moringa, papaya, passion fruit, pigeon pea, pineapple, roselle, Seminole pumpkin, sweet potatoes, taro, tropical greens and spinaches, and yucca. Some of these plants are not started from seed, so I put in parentheses the most common ways to start them. For heat-loving plants that are started from seed, I will put some links in the video description to online stores where I buy these types of seeds. There are quite a few tropical greens and spinaches that we can grow in the summertime. These include amaranth tricolor or vegetable amaranth, green callaloo amaranth, Brazilian spinach, also called sisu, Lagos spinach, longevity spinach, Malabar spinach, Malokia, also called Egyptian spinach, New Zealand spinach, and Okinawa spinach. I want to point out that a few of these tropical plants need a long, hot growing season to fully mature. Arrowroot needs 10 to 11 months of hot weather. Malanga takes 9 to 10 months to mature. Yucca needs between 8 and 11 frost-free months. Taro needs at least 7 frost-free months, and papaya can take 7 to 11 months to produce fruit. So while all of these can be planted and grown during the summer, it'll be too late for some of the colder parts of Florida to get an edible harvest before a freeze comes. Except for papaya, most of these plants will just freeze down to the ground level and can come back from the roots in the spring. So even if they freeze, you may still be able to get a harvest in the following year. But personally, I wouldn't want to go to the trouble of planting something now that may die in a freeze before I can get an edible harvest. My preference is just to start these long season plants as early in the spring as I can, so I don't have to worry about it. Those of us that rarely get freezes can chance it, but in areas prone to early freezes, it may be better to wait until early spring to plant, or else get big plants that are already growing and plant those. I'll put a link in the description to an interactive map where you can find your first average frost date to help you decide if you want to plant any of these this late in the year. And there's one more thing I want to mention about growing papaya. Papaya is not only susceptible to freezes, but it also does not do well if the ground stays wet for too long. My yard has a lot of low-lying areas that hold water for days and sometimes even weeks at a time when we get constant rain for a few days in a row. I have lost papaya trees that were not planted high enough due to the intermittent flooding of the yard during rainy season. So be sure to plant papaya trees on high ground that doesn't hold standing water during our daily summer rainstorms. Summer herbs that can be planted in June include basil, chives, dill, marjoram, mint, and oregano. I finish most of my summer planting in May, but I still have some beds that I will be planting in after my spring crops die out. In these beds, I will be doing additional plantings of long beans, southern peas, sweet potatoes, sun hemp, winged beans, and more of my favorite tropical greens, which are green callaloo, Egyptian spinach, Brazilian spinach, and vegetable amaranth. As the sun gets more intense, the fruits of tomato and pepper plants can get scalded by the sun if the leaves aren't fully covering them. It can help to give your tomato and pepper plants a little bit of shade during the summer. The plants still need plenty of sunshine, so you don't want to put them in full shade, but it helps to put up some 30 or 40% shade cloth where it gives some shade during the middle of the day and ideally still lets the full sun in during the morning and the early evening hours. Also, now that rainy season has arrived, you shouldn't have to water your plants as much, but when you do water, it's better to water the plants at the root zone and not on the leaves of the plant, because when the leaves stay wet, that can lead to more diseases. With all the rain we get during the summer, wet leaves are inevitable, but you can try not to make it any worse than it already is in the rainy season. This suggestion is mainly for any crops that you planted in the spring that are still alive in June, like tomatoes and peppers and squash. Most of the tropical crops won't be bothered by wet leaves, so once your spring crops die out, you don't really need to worry about it anymore. The insect invasion gets so bad in the summer that I pretty much give up on trying to do battle with the bugs. If there's a particularly bad infestation of your plants, then you can still control it if you're really dedicated to going out in the heat and repeatedly treating the plants. But the rain will quickly wash off whatever you apply, so you have to almost constantly reapply your pest control treatments. Soapy water can be used to kill many insect pests. A lot of bugs can just be picked off and dropped into a bucket of soapy water. Or else you can spray the bugs directly with insecticidal soap. There are many recipes for insecticidal soap online, but the mix I mainly use is 1 teaspoon of castile soap with 1 teaspoon of neem oil mixed with a quart of water. Safer brand insecticidal soap is a pre-made option you can buy if you don't want to mix anything yourself. Just be careful when spraying insecticidal soap not to spray your plants in the heat of the day or you can burn them. It's best to spray in the evenings. BT and spinosad are both organic products that can be used to control caterpillars in the garden. I've added links to these organic pest control products in the description below the video. As a final note, I will tell you that I pretty much take a break from gardening during the summer. I plant only low-maintenance tropical plants that won't need much tending, and I enjoy my summer rather than dealing with the heat and the bugs. Up north, the farmers and gardeners take winters off, but down here, a lot of Florida gardeners take the summers off. I will be trying to get my final summer plantings done over the first couple weeks of June, and then I'll be spending as much of my free time as possible at the beach or in some other nice cool body of water. I hope you all have an enjoyable summer and don't work too hard. Happy gardening!